Hello and welcome to my 2022 inventory and my 2023 library reset. This is going to be a really fun video for me, and I'm going to explain how we're doing this. So I'm going to do all of my inventory of my palettes is going to be based on how many pans are in the palette, and I will tell you as I go through which palettes I'm keeping, which palettes I'm going to be decluttering, and what may be on the chopping block. So without further intro, let's just get right into the video and start with my 16 pan palettes. I have two 16 pan palettes right here. The first one is the NARS Bijou palette. This was holiday 2021 and I could not get my hand on this palette. It sold out so fast in the United States that it just was impossible to get. It has that really pretty duochrome and just a gorgeous palette. I'm definitely keeping this. I did pick this up on Mercari and I paid $88 for it, but I sold a bunch of stuff, so I don't count on my cost any credit I have from selling other products. I actually just count the I guess you could say the actual cost paid out of pocket. I do always include tax, and I do always include any shipping, any fees, any handling charges. So NARS Bijou is staying. And in 2022, I used this palette 4 times, and my goal this year is to use it a bunch more. 27 times would be what I paid if I'm doing $1 per use, which is what I kind of do. But I do want to see this get a lot more usage than that. But I love the packaging. The formula is really great too, but this is sticking around. My other 16 pan palette is the Nabla Side by Side Nude palette. I had wanted this for a really long time. I love the feel of the packaging. I love the Art Deco design, but I've actually withheld from purchasing any more from Nabla because I just don't know. Like, I really love it. I want it. And then I get my hands on it and it just doesn't maybe feel as special as I thought it would. Also, this is a lot of packaging for a 16 pan palette. You know, both are 16 pans, but it's a lot of packaging for that. So let me get into what I paid and what I hope to get out of it. I'm going to pull out the plastic sleeve. So I bought this palette in 2021 for only for only $23. So my goal would be 23 uses. I've currently gotten 7 uses out of this palette over 2021 and 2023. Keep in mind that almost everything I add to my collection, I either add at the end of the year or the very beginning of the year. So I think I ordered this and picked this up more in the spring. I don't add that to my list, but it's a gorgeous palette. This is going on the chopping block to see if I can actually find enough uses for this. Otherwise, my goal would be to give this to someone who is going to get that many uses, somebody who would really use it 23 times, or to sell it for the value that I haven't gotten out of it. So if I've used it 8 times, my goal was 23 uses, then I would want to try to get at least $17 for it. Does that make sense? So instead of basing it on retail price, and I base on what I spent and wanting to see those uses recuperated. So $1 per use, and that goes both ways for anything I didn't do and anything that I am having goals to get done. I hope that makes sense to you. So that is it for my 16 pan palettes. I'm going to move these to the side. These are my 18 pan palettes. This first one, I have no need for any goals. This was a gift. This is the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. It's not going anywhere, and if it did, it would be taken by my daughter who has been begging for it. It smells so deliciously peachy, and this is such a great palette. I really love this palette. This one has like a star on it. It's my only Too Faced palette, and excuse the black under my nail. That is from hitting this shade right here as I was filming it earlier. But anyway, the palette itself is just gorgeous. I love it, and my daughter would totally take this off my hands if I was over it. But I do use this. I do love it, and my current goals actually are doing pretty well. I mean, I had no goals, but I have gotten actually 18 uses out of this, and anytime I have a gift, my goal is just standardly 20 uses. just simply because I do want to use gifts. So I'm already at 18 uses in this palette since 2020 when it came into my life. This is the Pat McGrath 2021 holiday palette. I picked this up pretty much right when it came out. It's the Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey. And this is another 18 pan palette. I have gotten 13 uses out of this, and I paid $70 for it. I'm going to try to find you a good angle on it. I paid a lot for this. I paid $70 for it with tax and shipping. I do keep everything that I paid as part of the cost. I love this palette. I use this palette a lot in the autumn, and I could get a lot of spring use out of this too. I see a lot of peach in here. When I hold it upside down, you do see it a little bit differently, but this isn't going anywhere. I do use it, and it definitely has not achieved any kind of usage goal that I have in my life. Now I have what used to be my absolute favorite. Like, this was like, I guess you could call it my signature palette. This is the Huda Beauty New Nudes. Now, the thing that's crazy is one of my friends gave this to me for my birthday this year in 2023, and I returned it. And I am having so many regrets because I just realized I purchased this palette in 2019. So in 2019, I purchased it. I was not tracking use of products then, so I don't know how many uses I received in 2020, 21. I only used it twice in 2021 and only 3 times in 2022. I used to use this palette all of the time. But the funny thing is it kind of has a unused look. Now you're going to see 3 shades that look kind of weird, and that is because I hate pressed glitters, so I scooped them out and I put these in instead. These are from Beauty Crop, and yeah, they're a PRC eyeshadow, and it didn't come out great. I mean, none of the 3 of these swatch badly. They all are fine to swatch, but for some reason on the eyes, they just don't really apply the same way. And yeah, that's gonna have to change. I don't know how, but I think that iteration didn't work well. And so this is, and also I've had this since sometime in 2019. So this is actually going on the chopping block, which I never thought I would say. I love the Huda Made in Italy formula. Her PRC formula is terrible, but the Made in Italy formula is phenomenal. So I don't know if I'm just going to possibly rebuy a newer one, or I don't know. Okay, so the next one that I have is right here. This is the Huda Beauty Rose Gold Palette Remastered. I also picked this one up in 2019. Isn't it beautiful? It's so gorgeous. I love this palette. And according to my records, I have no idea how many times I used it in 2019, 2020, but I used it 3 times in 2021 and only once in 2022. I paid $29 for this. My goal was 29 uses. I may have gotten that out of this, probably not. Back when I picked up these Huda palettes, I really had a small makeup collection, so you can see some real dips. I do keep my palettes super clean, so you can't tell use based on filth. But I do really like this palette, and the last I checked, it still performs beautifully. So I don't plan on letting this one go, and the metallics are pretty unusual as well. Yeah, I'm leaning towards keeping this one and deciding about the new nudes, but I think I'm going to put both of these on the chopping block just because I do have 84 palettes, and so something has to go on the chopping block. We're going to put this little chopping block group over here, and then this will be my definite keep pile here. Funny because these are all super bizarre packaging. Normally, weird packaging isn't my favorite, but the last but not least that I have is right here. This is Sandstone from ColourPop. This is maybe my only ColourPop palette, and I really love this palette. The colors are phenomenal in this. That yellow is great, the green, and all of these are magnetic, which I love. They just pop right out. Such a gorgeous palette. and I really love it. So I picked this up in 2021. My goal is 16 uses, and I've used it maybe like 4 times. Not as much as I would have hoped. I used it a lot in the beginning. Then I depotted it, as you can kind of tell from some of these damaged corners, and thought I would use it more as singles, and then I didn't. So I need to get more use out of this year. Otherwise, this one would need to go. But again, 19 uses is all I have on it. I'm going to keep this. Again, this is my only ColourPop. That is my only NARS. And that is my only Too Faced. Also, this is my only Nabla. So, I don't know. I'm kind of a one-off brand, I guess, person. Moving on from 18 pan palettes and into this beauty. This is so heavy and luxurious. This was a gift to me. This is Urban Decay Born to Run. If you didn't know, sort of an iconic palette. Urban Decay never improved on their formula from this palette. They never did anything better, and they only went worse. But it still performs great. I still love it. My goal would be 20 uses because it was gifted to me by a friend. And I have gotten, my best guess is that I've used this 9 times. I don't know for certain, but again, this is just, it performs really well still. You see a lot of that like pink and green and burgundy. There are only so many color stories in the world, so I really like this one. I wish this is a 21 palette, 21 pan palette. I wish that this was magnetic and depotable, but it is not. So it has a really phenomenal mirror. I do really like it. Let's see. I was going to just check. Bulk is made in the USA, but it doesn't say anything else beyond that. It just said bulk made in the USA. See, I am going to put this on the chopping block only because I want to give it a go, see where we're at with it, and if the formula has changed. It was a gift, but at the same time, I need to see where we're at. Going into our next, that one, again, this is 21 pans. Then we go into the Tati Beauty palette. This is just gorgeous, the Volume 1 palette. I missed this for a long time. I picked it up in 2020, and I sold a bunch of stuff on Mercari, so I only paid $11 for this. So I have an 11 usage goal on it, and I have used it 8 times. My goal is to do a look with each row individually. So this is just a gorgeous palette. I love it. It's so much fun. And it's a 24 pan palette. Those are the only glitters that I will use. I mean, I keep this basically just for those. I don't care if it's old. It doesn't matter to me. Has another really great mirror. So I'm keeping the Tati. And then this has 28 pans. This is the Natasha Denona Green Brown palette. I'm not getting rid of this. I love this. It's the best formula she ever did. We have smears here from touching other palettes. I hate it when my palettes get dirty. I actually like a white palette because it's nice to keep it clean. I love this white leatherette packaging, and I'll show you the inside. My goal on this, I paid $143 for it because I actually did get this as a 2-part set, but I count the shipping, the tax, and then the other palette I gave to a friend for her birthday. So I actually count shipping her palette. I think I might have counted the shipping in that. So $143 is what I paid for it. I want to get 143 uses out of it. So this is actually going into a 100 usage goal for me for 2023. So that is what's happening with this library piece. I have currently used this palette 15 times. So I would like to get 100 uses out of this palette. So this is going into my 100 use goal as the palette. I'm not going to try to get 100 uses out of everything, but out of that. And then this is the Viseart Grand Pro 1X. This is when they redid the Grand Pro from enormous to this very sleek. The other one was sleek, but this is the medium-sized pan. So if you do not know, Viseart does 3 pan sizes. They have the Pro size, the Attendu size, which is what this is right here, and then the Petite size. I personally love the Attendu size. Such a cool palette. And I have swatched this, but I have not used it. I picked it up in 2022. Yep. and I haven't used it. So my goal is to just get usage out of this. And it has, I paid $75 for it. I do feel guilty that I picked this up in the spring and I haven't used it. I don't know what happened. I know for one thing, it is so small, it got missed. Like it's thin and it's light, but it's also not shaped like anything else. So I completely missed it. So this is not going on into the chopping block, but this is going into my, hey, I need more love kind of a pile. And I would definitely say that the Grand Pro and the Natasha Denona both are in that boat where it's going to be hard to hit a usage goal of 75 on something this expensive. Those are my largest palettes, 16 pan, 18 pan, all the way up to 35 pans, which is just crazy. So sleek, so light. And this one, because I haven't used it, I have swatched it some. It's sanitized, but it might end up just going in a kit. I'm not entirely certain if that's going to stay in my library or just become kit fodder. So that's it for today. I will see you again in the next one where I will go over all of my 14 pan palettes. It's 15 pans. I'm sorry. 15 pans are next. I've got quite a stack of 15 pan palettes, and that's what I will film next. So if you want to see that, you can check back on the channel. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. I would love to know, how many palettes do you have that have 16 pans or more? And what is the oldest palette in your collection? And what is the most expensive palette in your collection? I'd love to hear. Put that in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.